All right, so welcome to day 2 of American Voices, our first unit in English 1. Remember, we are tackling the question, what does it mean to be an American? It's a very complicated question. Yesterday, we came up with this chart that sort of just hashed out different meanings for what it means to be an American. And as you can see, it's a very complicated answer. There's not one dictionary definition of American. I mean, there probably is one in the dictionary, but it's really more complicated than that. So today what we're going to do, we're going to read an informational text called A Quilt of a Country. We're going to read that together as a whole group. And we're going to talk about central idea. But before we get started doing either of those things, let's talk about quilts. I want you to take a minute and grab a piece of paper. Then you're going to grab a pencil or a pen or a crayon. I don't really care. And you are going to write for 1 minute. Start a timer and write for 1 minute. What is a quilt? And how does the image of a quilt relate to America as a country? So number 1, what is a quilt? And then how does that image of a quilt relate to America as a country? So take 1 minute, go ahead and pause and write for a minute. All right, so in my classes today, in the classes that we ought to have without technology issues, we decided that a quilt was a colorful fabric Y'all, I just saw a squirrel and got distracted. Okay. A quilt is a bunch of colorful pieces of fabric that are sewn together and make one thing. Make one blanket, right? So when you think about how that image relates to America as a country, it's pretty easy to see, right? We all are from different places. We were all born different places. Well, that's not true. Our ancestors were born in different places. And America is a country of immigrants. So we are all different religions, races, and cultures, and we are woven together into one to make America. So that's sort of how quilts relate to America as a country. All right, let's go over really quickly what a central idea is. So I know that y'all have definitely talked about central idea. You've talked about main idea, but we still struggle with it sometimes, and that's okay. So we've got to continue to practice it. All right, so a central idea is another word for a main idea. It is what a text is mainly about, or I like to call it a one-sentence summary of the whole text. Now, a summary, in contrast, is just the highlights. So like all of the big important things that happen in a text, whether that's a story or an informational text, either one. All right, y'all. So I like to teach central idea, and I think it's helpful if every single time you are writing anything, really. When you're writing something, I'm sorry, I misspoke. When you are reading something, if you will try to figure out the central idea of each individual paragraph, you'll be more successful in the long run. Because test makers will try to trick you by throwing one of the paragraphs in as one of the answer choices. I guarantee it. So as we read A Quilt of a Country today, that's exactly what I'm going to do. All right, so hop back onto the Quilts of a Country video and we will get started.